Zoom recording. I am Marnie Stockman, CEO of Lifecycle Insights. Played a little Eye of the Tiger to get us jazzed. I said you always need a little walk-up music for your QBRs because they are certainly impactful for your business and how you interface with your clients. So I have met many of you along the way. Thanks so much for joining us. I promised in the email that the plan would be for me to show you how Lifecycle Insights aims to automate the reports that you need in a business review and talk through kind of the strategy behind that. So that is my goal for this webinar. Hopefully that is also the goal for you. I absolutely have chat up and running, so feel free to, post all of your questions here. I'm going to kind of talk through the whole life cycle of Lifecycle Insights and really how to get it going. And I want to start with why Lifecycle Insights became a thing, and then I will show my screen and talk through it. So I come from the world, I was actually a high school math teacher. I landed in ed tech and ran customer success for the largest ed tech company in the world. And in doing that, we learned how to scale through 4 acquisitions, customer success through the use of business reviews, metric tracking, etc. So the developers and I decided we wanted to take that someplace else, and we're looking for a good problem to solve. I did not realize that somebody I had played with volleyball with for 25 years had this very problem in the managed service space. So I played volleyball with Alex Farling, who was an MSP in Delaware for 16 and a half years. One night we're on opposite sides of the net. We're both setting. And so we're right next to each other all the way along the net. And I said, develop a product, have any problems in the space type of thing. And he said, absolutely. I spent 6 hours today cobbling together my business, my QBR for my clients. And I'm not confident that the data is accurate. It takes me forever to get it to look like a good presentation, and it's never consistent. It takes me too long to prep. Is that something that you guys could do? So we took a look at that, our backgrounds in data aggregation and reporting, particularly reporting that's easy to act on, right? We worked in ed tech where we were talking to teachers, students, and administrators. So we felt like if we could build easy red, yellow, green reporting for school systems, that execs would be able to strip the technical out of it and just get to the business outcomes that they need. I always say that managed service providers are not tech consultants, but they're really customer success as a service consultants, right? They're delivering those business outcomes for their client with the thoughtful use of technology. So that is how Lifecycle Insights became a thing. We launched in 2019 IT Nation with 0 customers, and now we have just about 700. So a lot of folks are life cycling along the way. And if you're curious if they're happy life cyclers, I suggest go on any form of social media that you would like and ask and see what they have to say for themselves. Because of course I'm biased as one of the co-founders of the company. But I'm excited to show you what we can do. Again, we aim to automate as much of the process that can be automated and then make strategic the part of the conversation that needs to really highlight, I think, the strength of the managed service provider. The strategic part shouldn't be automated because that is your super hero power, really. So I'm going to show my screen. So we should be looking at my screen right now. If not, you're probably looking at a terrible looking calendar. So do someone put in chat if you're not seeing my screen. Otherwise, I'll assume we are good to go. And again, as we go, if you've been on a call with me before, you know I have said that I'm Italian, so I don't consider it interrupting. I consider it participating. So chime in your questions as we have them, and we'll get rolling. So welcome to Lifecycle Insights. The first thing we do, again, is we're aiming to level up business reviews to start with automating some of the data that you need to deliver right out of the gate. We require a primary integration. So I'm going to put these in the chat so that you can make sure that one of these aligns with what you have in your stack. So ConnectWise Manage, Autotask, Halo, Synchro, or the wild card, meaning it's not a PSA, but we still integrate and pull assets from there, IT Glue. If you have 2 of those, we absolutely could integrate with IT Glue and have Manage as a secondary or Autotask as a secondary. Victor, we don't have Adigy yet. We've talked to Adigy, but we don't have them. The second piece is we will do, after we integrate, we're going to pull over your companies, your contacts, and your assets. And then if you look on the screen, you can see I've got a data quality score. So we're going to check your data quality, not just on the one customer that's in the dropdown, but actually across all of your clients. Because if you don't have make, model, serial number, we can't project an end of life date for you. And so we can't help you budget forecast, which means you're missing assets, which would be opportunities, or causing security concerns. So it's interesting. I presented at Evolve a couple weeks ago, and somebody, one of our partners in the group said, you know, we plugged into Lifecycle Insights, and the first thing we found was we expected our partner that had 7 end users to have 2 firewalls, but the data from Manage was so bad that they in fact had 17 firewalls for, again, 7 users. So right out of the gate, we're hoping to highlight the data quality, not as a punishment, but as a way to make sure that your business review is accurate. Part of what we do to clean up your data on our end is warranty lookups. So we do warranty lookups. Again, I will post this in the chat so that you can confirm that this would be what you would need. Dell, Lenovo, HP, Microsoft Surface, Cisco Meraki, and Cisco SmartNet. So we do those warranty lookups for you and always keep that up to date. We will report off of anything. So if you have it in your PSA, we'll report off of it. SonicWall, in fact, doesn't have an API, Jennifer. We would love to have SonicWall, and we have talked to them. Apple also does not. You have to have a GSX licensing. Yes, Steve, absolutely. The list expands. Usually quarterly, we try to add some integrations. SonicWall is definitely high on the list. Like I said, Victor, we've tried Apple, but they have some business requirements that we don't meet, including the GSX licensing. We've talked to Ruckus, but I can't remember off the top of my head what that solution was for them. If you want, you can email support@lifecycleinsights.io. When I'm off this call, I'll circle back with them and get you the answer to the Ruckus piece. We have also talked with Watchman, Victor, so they would be on our list of things we're aiming for as well. Now, if you update any of yours manually, we will report off of that. Aruba is a possibility in the future because that would be associated with another one that we're working on. Ubiquity, because they don't sell extended warranties, they wouldn't let us, they don't have an API for us to look up. So our goal here is to help you drive lifecycle management reporting, asset lifecycle management. So here is, I've just clicked into the asset list, and we're going to give you more help than just looking up the assets that we can. We're also going to highlight where you may be missing information. So I can easily, we call this swatching. So the swatches are the blue, yellow, green, and red chips that you see above each column. And I can swatch away the red, yellow, and green and find my 2 assets that are missing end of life information. I have lots of ways I can update that. As a matter of fact, Victor, this answers your question. You can update them in Lifecycle, and we will write that back to your PSA, or you can update it in your PSA and sync it over to Lifecycle. So either one will work for you. So if it's in the PSA as a configuration, etc., we absolutely can report off of it, even if we don't update it with warranty lookups ourselves. We use the swatching to answer lots of questions. Show me all my operating systems that have expired and let me build a recommendation off of that. This recommendation I can push through to the budget so that we can start building a technology roadmap for our partners. I'll show more on recommendations later, but I like to point out that there are lots of places you can make recommendations for your partners, because the reality of it is as you're working through just the ebb and flow of working with your client, you'll find needs that you need to address. We could take a look at, I could make this report show me where the warranties are expired, so they're red, but the assets are not at end of life. This is where you might want to go get a manufacturer warranty, etc. If I keep this report like this, you can see I've focused it down to workstations and network equipment, I could filter that further and just do workstations. I can download the reports, and I'm actually going to put a report in the chat at the end. If I forget, remind me. I'm going to give you a link to one that you can download and print out and see the actual output. Can download to CSV, or you can even schedule the report for email delivery. So you can schedule this to go to your inbox, your client's inbox, recurring, so weekly, monthly, quarterly, yearly, or one time. So you can select all of those pieces and including, what the subject is, what the email is, etc. The other thing that many of our partners do is you have the ability to set a security group in the platform that will allow you to let your users log in. You can give control for read or read-write access to any single menu item or multiple menu items along the way. So many of our partners give their partners the ability to read the asset list, the user list, and even the contracts. And I'll talk about why when we get there. So this lets you build that whole asset lifecycle management component, automate that frankly, cybersecurity insurance companies are starting to ask their partners, do you have an asset lifecycle management policy? And how often are you reviewing your assets and refreshing them? So that is a way that if you're not already helping them with that, you can help them with that. And they're probably thinking that you're doing it anyway. The same idea for reporting, right? We're trying to match up what you've got and where. We use the same ideas for our user reporting, so a user inventory. We pull your contacts from your PSA and we integrate with Microsoft 365. So again, I'm kind of typing in the chat all of the integrations that we have along the way so you can keep track of that. So we grab this from the Microsoft API, and here you can ask questions like, where are folks not in my PSA but do have a Microsoft license? You can then ask yourself, why is this red? They haven't logged in over 30 days, and why is MFA disabled? So a lot of folks get a lot of value right out of the gate in terms of quickly identifying some issues. They may be paying for licenses you're not protecting and securing. They could have had somebody that started work and then didn't stay and the license is still active. Maybe they forgot about an inbox right when somebody left, that type of thing. And maybe they should be paying you, or maybe they should not be paying for that license. So one way or the other, there's some good spot checking to do at the beginning. Oh, Steve, I am so glad you told me that. Let me recopy some of my comments so that I have written down all of the integrations in the chat to everybody instead of just apparently to myself as the only panelist. So thank you. Let me put the initial API pieces in there as well. I appreciate that. Yeah, shout out if you're not. Perfect. We do not support any other email providers in terms of direct integration, but if you have a file from, for example, Rackspace, as you mentioned, you can import it from CSV to do the same matching. As a matter of fact, I can show you what that looks like. In Manage Columns, we have an integration with Augment and Breach Secure Now, and a few others. I'll mention them in a bit, but I can add columns for those. So these are automated along the way, but you could do the same thing by uploading a file from another email source, etc. We also have an integration with LineGuard that will pull over some additional user reporting. Our ConnectWise item is pulling from the contact, and we are grabbing the RMM user to associate to the asset list for sure. Yes. I think you wanted me to show the manage user reporting columns in here. So I'll keep that up on the screen for a second. We have some other integrations as well. So I'm going to click on the, no worries, screen grab away. I'm going to click on the integrations tile so that you can see the other pieces that we integrate with. So we have, again, Microsoft 365, LineGuard. LineGuard has a ton of inspectors, so we only have a bite-sized piece of that. We grab G Suite and Azure AD users, and mobile devices. We integrate with Breach Secure Now and Know Before. For each of those, we have a report that I'll show. Augment and Saslio are SaaS application monitoring tools. So we have unique reports for each of them as well. And then at the bottom, you can see the warranty lookups. So in terms of supplemental data, this is absolutely what the money shot. I don't have a sandbox, Victor, with the Synchro integration, but everything looks exactly the same with the exception of the fact that we can't pull associated agreements and we can't push to tickets in Synchro yet. Steve, yes, you can use IT Glue as your primary integration and LionGuard as your secondary. You can't use LionGuard as a primary. So you absolutely can do both of those. Yeah. I'm going to move down to our contracts component. And contracts, there are a couple reasons for this. First, if you are, Hoodoo is on the way, Victor. So we've already started working on a Hoodoo integration. So first, if you are either a ConnectWise Manage or an auto task partner, you can already import your agreements automatically into Lifecycle Insights. So that would be in Manage your agreements and additions in auto task. They're called contracts. You can pull either your, one all-you-can-eat line or any of the individual line items to import for the purpose of importing into a budget. You can also manually add vendors or contracts. So I just clicked into a line of business vendor. Many folks include printer copier, phone service, ISP providers, or again, line of business Salesforce applications, for example. Because if you're aiming to deliver a full technology cost of ownership budget, you want to deliver more than your own services, right? If you're only putting your services on the budget, you're basically giving a bill to them that you want to talk about. If you help them budget technology beyond your services, you've really got a seat at the table as a chief information officer with that business. I will pause and bring up data residency actually. So I have a question in the chat. I'm sure we'll get to it, but wondering about data residency. So we are in AWS, currently in the East region. All of our humans and all of our technology and all of our data is in the United States. We are building we are scaling up to get a European data center for folks in Europe, but currently everything is housed in the United States. And again, AWS. So I mentioned that the reasons for adding contracts into Lifecycle Insights is so you can drive a whole conversation around technology budgeting. There are some other pieces that are important. If your client has a $30,000 Salesforce bill due in August, you probably don't want to ask them the third week in August if now's a good time to schedule two new server replacements, right? So you can start helping them level out their technology costs. You can look at conversations of moving to the cloud, again, to stop the asset refresh cycle and level those costs out. So there's a lot of power in being involved in that technology conversation. We have some clients that use that portal notion where you can log into Lifecycle Insights as a client, and they let their clients enter their own contracts in here. So they're kind of doing that work for you, adding extra services that you can talk about. One of our partners, William, talks about the fact that he did this actually for a prospect. He said I'd already pre-qualified the prospect, so I knew they would be in my budget, but I really wanted to show them how I would partner with them. So I asked them for all of their contracts in advance. They gave it to him in all of their multiple locations. He ended up finding 17 different phone contracts. He was able to save them $3,000 a month and ended up selling him the VoIP provider that he partners with. So he's also getting a spiff on top of the fact that he was able to offset his bill by $3,000 a month. And they find him to be a true partner at the table when you're really looking at the business beyond just the technology you can provide. So we believe there is a ton of power in delivering that budget to your clients. And our partners would say the same thing, that they've had mic drop moments in business reviews when they've started sharing this information. We have a few different views of the budget. This is kind of a detailed view where I can print out either every line or just the more categorical view. We also have a spreadsheet view, which is nice for that 5-year budget. In the reporting options, we can look at monthly, yearly, or quarterly budgets, and you can do this up to 12 cycles. So 12-month, 12-quarter, no one's done 12-year, you could, do a 5-year instead, et cetera. So you have a lot of options and create default settings for the budgets you want to deliver. So that's kind of the magic of the automation side of Lifecycle Insights, right? I said in the email that we are aiming to help speed up the prep time for business reviews, because that is what's keeping folks from delivering them as often as they should or that their clients need. Do we believe everyone needs them quarterly? The ones that are paying you $600 a month would be spending more, you'd be spending more of your time and cost to deliver a business review quarterly. But that doesn't mean there aren't some things that they need and that you couldn't automate, right? That asset lifecycle management, you could send out quarterly and then do a virtual conversation once a year. Again, continuing to market them along the way about what you've done for them recently. The non-automated side of Lifecycle Insights is the assessment side of the house. This is not like a rapid fire tools network detector type of assessment. This is more a survey tool, right? This can be used in pre-sales. As a matter of fact, the assessment side of the house is free. So as long as you have the basic 5-client package, you can do assessments on all your prospects and all your clients for no additional charge, no matter how many there are. The reason for that is twofold. First, if you put the data in as a prospect, you'll be able to show time over time as the assessment changes and their technology improves what you've done for them. We feel like that's a great driver for your business. And we feel like as your business grows, our business will grow. So we think assessments is the baseline for that, which is why we include it for everyone. Most folks start with our default assessment. You can import an assessment. So if you're coming from another platform, we can import it. We've got a whole library. As a matter of fact, one of our partners just uploaded the CMMC assessment 2.0 level 1 and level 2 with scoring instructions that he told us we could share with all of our partners. But most folks do end up starting with our default assessment and then editing it to make it their own. So it's completely customizable based on where you are and where you want to go. I'm going to dig in and show you what our default assessment looks like. But again, you can imagine aligning this to your standards and best practices. In a not so surprising turn of events, right, our assessment ends up in red, yellow, green, stoplight reporting like the rest of Lifecycle Insights, because folks understand that red is bad and green is good. And I can go in and easily score by checking the boxes. I can add public comments, which would be what you're going to do to resolve the situation. I can add private comments like, be sure to talk about this next quarter if they don't go with the recommendation. That's not going to flow through to the reporting. And you can also show previous responses. So if you're only doing this semi-annually or annually, you may not remember the notes that you put in there previously. So it's good to see, what you had said and what you're going to do next. And then the other piece that a lot of folks, we're seeing many, many more folks really try to scale their business review process so that everybody is getting a very consistent, much faster business review. And these next two pieces are critical for that. One is the scoring instructions and one is the explanation remediation tips. If you can put in documentation, you can put in links to documentation, pictures here, whatever you want of okay, we're going to score it green if they have Meraki. We're going to score it yellow if they are using this. We're going to score it red if they're using nothing. And then we're going to recommend the following things to address this. This allows multiple folks, especially beyond a sole owner, to be able to consistently deliver the same business review. So if you are hiring an intern, you can get them to do some of this work. Can a tier 1 tech go through some of the assessment so that your highest paid resources aren't doing all of these pieces when some of it can be done with an intern, a tier 1 tech, again, etc. You'll also notice here and many other places, you have the ability to create a PSA ticket. So sometimes when you're doing a business review, you realize that you need to, that you missed something, you've got to kick off a ticket. You can do that right from here. We'll connect with Manage and Autotask for tickets right now. And then we'll sync back so you can watch the status as it flows through. I'm going to show you what these reports look like because we've got a couple different views that folks like to share in their business review. The first is the overview of the assessment itself. Very clear, hardware bad, regulatory compliance not, right? Because we've got red in those categories. And not overly technical. So when they say the hardware is bad, you can drill in and see any of your items and where they were at risk. And at the end of the report, you can see all of the red items aggregated together along with your comments. So this is where any recommendations, public comments that you've made come through. The other report that I hinted to when I talked about using this for pre-sales is the assessment comparison report. And this is where I can say, well, before you started working with us, you were at a 53%, and now you're at an 82%. Our folks that use this for pre-sales will say, you're at a 53% now, and when you start working with us, you'll automatically be at an 82%. You'll see what we're addressing right out of the gate and where we'll still have more work to do. Kind of that conversation like physical or car health, right? As a thing ages out on a car, we may have to replace it. Technology is no different. As new threat actors come on the scene, we may need to have, enhanced security practices. So this will ebb and flow. Don't expect to get to 100 and stay there, right? This is always in flux, but we're going to always push and make recommendations to keep you as secure as possible to eliminate your risk. With that talk track as part of your business review, then when you've identified their risks, right? So these are the risks from their business review. I can go grab them and build a recommendation. So I'm going to create a recommendation, and that includes getting rid of all of these expired operating systems. And we're connecting the dots for your partners. Your partners don't really want to talk about Optiplex 755s, but they sure want to know that you're solving these business pains. I have a question in the chat. How do we differ from ScalePad? So first, we have the 6 warranty lookups that I mentioned. We do not sell third-party warranties. So they do sell third-party warranties. But beyond the asset reporting, ScalePad doesn't do the full budgeting or the assessment components that we do. They don't drive the technology roadmap that we have. So there are a lot of pieces that we do beyond it. I typically say about 10% of what we do is maybe 80-ish% of what they do. Maybe those numbers aren't exactly alike, but only the warranty asset lifecycle management piece really matches up with ScalePad. But we are able to help some folks drop a subscription if you're using ScalePad. Again, if you need the 6 warranty lookups that we do. So now that I've talked about building those recommendations, you can also build a roadmap for your client. So you can come in and see all of the recommendations that you've made across the client, across the next few years, or across all your clients. So this really drives these recommendations, feed to the budget, but they also let you say, these are the projects. And one thing that many folks like to do is to put the not scheduled projects at the end of the report so that, when folks have end of year spend down money and they're looking at the business review, they can say, oh, we have talked about wanting to do those security upgrades. Let's go ahead and do that. We can budget for that now. So keeping that in front of them is a strategic play on your part as well. We have a few more reports, and then I want to show you kind of the easy button for how this all ties together. In more reports, we have the Microsoft Secure Score, which again pulls over their assessment responses. So this is not from an assessment you do in Lifecycle. This piece is automated direct from Microsoft. We have Breach Secure Now. I'm going to show you the Breach Secure Now report. It looks the same as the Know Before report. My demo site just happens to connect to this one with Know Before specific language, right? So you can see phishing, fail rate, etc. You know, it's really the perfect time in a business review to talk through these conversations, because it's all about securing the site and not so much a single call where you're calling to tattletale on Natalie for clicking on a breached email, etc. We also have Augment, and this is showing SaaS usage. This is by app summary. So if you're not familiar with Augment, you should check out our YouTube channel. George Smith and I from Augment did what do you mean shadow IT is a problem? So this is helping to highlight shadow IT within a business and also within individual employees, so you can see user detail. Saslio has similar reporting. That is just launching this week, so we're excited to have that out. And then if you have manage or auto task, we have a high-level ticket reporting dashboard as well. So I've shown you a lot of reports from today. We have Report Builder, which is basically your ability to build an easy button or a template or multiple templates on what you want to deliver in a business review. So on the left-hand side here, I have Add Component. And when I click into Component, you can add any of these pieces and stack them to build the report that you want to deliver. So if you have any of these pieces, then you will need to, you can just add these components in there. Marlon, we'll have to take a look and see which ones you are not seeing in here and if there's some integrations we need to add. If you don't have a Breach Secure Now access, you are, a client, you won't see that template. But I can build a set of reports the way I want to deliver it in a business review. So I'm going to show you my kind of a standard template that I show that has an agenda, an executive summary. Here's the assessment summary. So these reports now are starting to look like exactly what I showed you before, but now they're all with a single click of a button will rebuild across all of my clients. So here I've already preset a 5-year budget forecast and a 6-quarter budget forecast. And when I switch from creative designs to Get Well Medical Services, it repopulates with all of their data. So however I have saved my filters, my swatches, and my report, it saves in here. So you can see this is our asset list, slightly different view. I changed the columns. I've already swatched out to red, and it's just going to rebuild this report. I can download this to Word, so you can print it out and bind it and take it in as a report, or you can put it in presentation mode. So in presentation mode, you can show, again, the platform without having all of the behind the scenes showing, but also without having to build a PowerPoint slide deck. It's still in presentation view. Now, I promised that I would send over what the output looked like printed. So let me grab that. I'm putting a link in the chat now, and you should be able to pull up a downloadable PDF of what the report looks like. Our reports come out in Word in case folks want to add other pieces. As a matter of fact, we have a sort of the 2 wildcard components where you can add a text block or a Word file. In the text block, you can include screenshots. So a lot of folks include screenshots from other reporting platforms so that they can still deliver in one place in Lifecycle Insights, but have the other reports that they want. Oh, Kevin, I will absolutely send over this recording. Yes. So I was asked if if this recording will be sent out. Absolutely, it will be. Okay, so I was also asked if the template defaults do they come like this right out of the gate? Yes. So you have a library of templates. Now you do not have this entire scrolling list of mayhem, but you have the LCI sample template as a default. So every place we give you a starter, and then you can edit from there. So you don't have to start from scratch. Hopefully that makes sense. The other piece is once you've defined what you want your business review to be, and we have many folks that have 3 different versions of templates. So maybe a mini once a month template, a quarterly one, and an annual one. Not everybody gets all the things, right? You have to decide and prioritize what each of your partners needs. In our scheduler, you can decide who deserves quarterly, monthly, annually, semi-annual, or even one-off business reviews. And then you can also dig in and take notes on follow-up from a business review. You can upload artifacts, so you can add links, you can add your documentation here so that it records your business review time over time. You can track who's up next, who missed a business review, and where you need to go next to deliver those services for folks. So this is aiming to just drive better process. That's a good piece of what we want, right? We're aiming to automate, we're aiming to help you strategize, we're aiming you to have a good process to be able to repeat a strategic business review for your partners. So what other questions? I suspect I know. How much does it cost? That's always a question I get. So let me go to our pricing page. Feel free to start putting in questions about the product, about pricing, about onboarding. I'll aim to answer pricing and onboarding questions along the way, but feel free to throw in the ones that you have. So everything I showed you today is the left-hand VCIO package, which has a free 30-day trial for 5 active customers or 25. So either of these two come with free 30-day trials. Beyond that, here's the pricing. And beyond 200, we have, it's $150 for every additional 100 clients along the way. I highly recommend that folks start with the smallest package and then build as they grow. So after you've gotten in, you've cleaned up your data, you've done your first business review, then you're ready to scale across everybody else, but don't bother paying for that until you've done that first business review to make sure everything's looking good and the way you would like. Any questions about that on the pricing page before we jump into what it looks like to get started with us? You definitely can see 200 clients again. I will put this link in the chat as well so you can access it easily. Good question. So in the chat, I have how long does it typically take to get everything imported, set up, and go live to use? I'm going to jump back into the product to show you what that looks like. When you first log in, there will be in the center of the screen, you need to set up your primary integration. That takes about 20 minutes on your end, about 40 minutes on our end to do the data backend setup, right? It's all automated, but you'll get an email in about an hour from us saying that it's ready to go. There is a checklist in the platform of other things that you can integrate. So the Microsoft 365 integration takes about 10 minutes to set up. If you've got Cisco, Meraki, and SmartNet, they're about 10 each. So if you had all of our integrations, you're probably going to spend another hour putting in the API keys to pull everything over. The longer work is to check out your data. And I see a wide range of data. Not everybody comes over green right away. I hate to break the bad news to everybody, but ConnectWise Managed doesn't have the prettiest data in there sometimes. So depending on what your data looks like, I would expect to spend a couple hours on your first client digging into the data to see where it's a mess and how to clean it up. After you've done it on a single client, it's much easier to do it in bulk. But the first time you do it, you really need to dive in and say, okay, why am I getting duplicates? How do I clean that up so I don't get them again? The other piece is that the assessment, if you don't have an assessment, I recommend starting with our default, run it against your own company or one of your, a company you're really familiar with, and revise from there to just defeat the blank page and get one out the door. So your first business review may take 8 hours, 12 hours to get going, but that's really setting up the process for being able to do them for everybody faster. So I don't know that I have a good initial time set on that. The technical integration is really fast though. Okay. Can you manage multiple currency? So we can't manage multiple currency. You can change currency, but you have to select one. I think the data location option will be available by the end of Q4. They've already done a bit of the heavy lifting, and we have a bunch of folks in Germany that are interested in using the platform, and they're waiting for that now. So that is an active project for us, Mike. So the other onboarding options. Oh, I will. Thank you. I just got a note in the chat to show this piece. Many folks in the business review, when they kick off a business review meeting, are also TimeZest partners. And so when you kick off a ticket from inside here, you can, if you have TimeZest, that can pick up and kind of schedule a Calendly link to kind of get those booked along the way. So if you're a TimeZest partner or are interested in being one, that is a popular integration. Once you've done the technical integration, you'll get a few invites from us. You'll get 1 to weekly onboarding. So every Wednesday from 1 to 2 Eastern time, we do 30 minutes of canned content on a 4-week cycle, and then 30 minutes of Q&A. If you can't make that, we record it. As a matter of fact, we store the recordings right in the site. So you could listen to all of them at once, right out of the gate if you wanted to. So you can see we've got the recordings, including a little bonus episode. And then you've got the checklist in the platform. So in the top right, you've got a checklist that you can work through. And then we're always happy to hop on a one-on-one call. We do have a weekly meeting with all of our partners on Friday afternoons with a variety of topics. I always send out that recording, although that's not training. That is more kind of what we're hearing in the space, best practices, et cetera. And then we do have a $300 recorded bootcamp option. It's for 1-hour trainings that we did with a group that a lot of folks like. If you don't have a business process in place or really want to dive into some of the, like, do I want to do this type of assessment or that type of assessment? We discussed that in the boot camp. So I'm checking the question in the chat. I'll read it. I have a QBR coming in about 2 weeks. I see a 30-day trial. Am I able to sign up for an account and get all the integrations? Yes, absolutely. So Adrian, I would sign up straight away and get that integration cooking overnight. Plug in as many of the integrations as you can. And then when you get the kickoff email from us, if you want to hop on a call to have some one-on-one time to get you going faster, feel free to do that. But the person that has the testimonial on our website signed up for Lifecycle on a Thursday, and the following week delivered 2 business reviews where he sold a $40,000 project and a $60,000 project. So we absolutely know it can be done. Hopefully you have the same kind of success. Any other questions for me? Well, I am not shy, and I appreciate all the comments in the chat. I will send out the recording. So that will be my email. If you have any questions, you can reply to that. I will include the trial link, and I will include the download of the PDF again. So if you want to take a look or share that with anybody else on your team, you could forward it to them. Okay. Oh, and Steve has a very good point. They're in trial already. It really depends on the quality of the data from your primary source. It absolutely does. Yeah. I appreciate that. That feedback definitely does. All right. Well, I will stop sharing and say thanks to all for joining, and look forward to getting you life cycling.